8:01, so let's make a start. I'm just going to do introductions and a bit of housekeeping first, if that's okay for everybody. So welcome, good morning to some people, good afternoon and good evening to the majority of you. I'm sure most of you know I'm Jackie Neeshaw, I'm chairman of the Gay Joe Guild Events Committee. We're expecting nearly 100 people this evening. Now, obviously, they may not all arrive because of commitments or somebody's forgotten or the grandchildren have arrived unexpectedly. But what we do is make sure everybody's muted on arrival because, as you can imagine, once you get over 50 people with the telly on in the background or the noise from outside, it is quite distracting. We have been asked to do these evenings every month by members, for members, and we're delighted to be joining Ellis this evening. But I'll just go through, as I said, the little bit of housekeeping that we need to do. So as I said, everybody's muted on arrival. You can ask questions via the chat function. So at the bottom of your screen, if you hover over the toolbar, you'll see chat. If you click on that, it opens another screen, and then at the bottom of that screen it says to everyone, and you can type in there a bit like text messaging. You also have the option to view gallery, which means you'll get all the screens, sometimes up to 25 people or names on one screen, and you might have to flick to another screen to see everybody, or you can have just speaker view, which means you can just have one person, and it's always the person who is speaking who you will see. Don't worry if you can't find the right setting. What I'm going to do as soon as we get started is spotlight Ellis so that he stays on screen for everyone. And obviously he'll be actually showing us various slides and taking us behind the scenes. Tony Kell is our co-host tonight, so while I'm asking Ellis questions, if there's more that come in on the chat, he will start to gather those and ask them, and we'll take it in turns. But obviously you're all very welcome to unmute nearer the end and speak out loud and ask questions if you find that easier. And the aim is usually to finish about 9:30, but sometimes obviously the questions and the interest exceeds that. Don't worry if you need to dip out beforehand, it will all be videoed, we are recording. So if you don't want your name to be visible or your image to be visible, then please feel free to just turn video off and you can change your name. We have had Mickey Mouse at one of these evenings. So I'll get started. In your joining letter, you will have learned the fact that Ellis Clark spent a life surrounded by railways, growing up in the National Railway Museum and digging through all the old models collection his dad had, Andrew of Andrew Clark models acquired in the trade. And it's almost been a decade since Ellis founded Ellis Clark Trains, with recent years taking him into the realms of ready to run. And tonight, Ellis is kindly going to take us from A to Z on how a project or a product makes it to market. He'll be taking us behind the scenes, explaining in detail every step, including the planning, preparation, obstacles to overcome, and where Ellis Clark Trains is heading next, and indeed the long-term plans and ambitions. And before people joined, Ellis was just saying he's probably going to be moving to bigger premises in the future. So, you know, it is a growing business. And you are allowed to ask nearer the end, what are you announcing next question? Whether he'll answer you or not is another matter, but we're certainly allowed to ask that question. So Ellis, I'm going to hand over to you and put you on spotlight, and then that means you will be on screen regardless of who's speaking. So that makes you appear big on screen for everybody.
Fantastic, fantastic.
I think everybody should have seen the video that was circulated. It's probably easiest if you didn't see it, if anybody says then, you know, if you say out loud, no, I haven't seen the video, and we can point you to the website off at the end to show people where it is. Has everybody seen the video? Tiny little 2-minute introduction. Yeah, nobody's saying no, so let's crack on with your introduction.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, obviously, I'm Ellis of Ellis Clark Trains. So basically, the video, the sort of 1 minute 30 video, was a very quick run through of step by step of how we take sort of a product or project from the first idea to the first sale, if you like. My aim, the way I run my business and the way I like to do it, is be completely transparent and show as much as possible, take as much feedback as possible, and sort of grow it as we sort of grow in the market and things. So what I'd like to really do is just do a quick run through now of where we start and where we sort of finish up. And then I'll sort of backtrack and go into a few further details, leave out some of the more boring stuff unless people want me to talk about it. And then people can ask questions, and the harder the question, the better. I always like challenging questions, because then if I don't know the answer, I can write them down and go figure it out. So yeah, so basically getting into the manufacturing side of things, the ready to run side. If people don't know, I've dealt in pre-owned model railways for, well, 10 years from when I started my business right till now. And that was a fantastic insight into getting lots of different models from hundreds of manufacturers from around the world over the years, seeing how stuff has been made, and eventually entering into manufacturing ourselves. Throughout our projects that we've done, you get a lot of problems that you encounter that you don't think you ever would, but it all becomes worth it when you start getting samples through, and of course the finished article. So essentially, right from the start, it's a case of figuring out what we're actually going to make. Few different ways of doing this. It can be ideas we've had, what people have requested. We in the past have done handouts at shows where, you know, we've asked for feedback on what people want, or tick boxes on what we think is going to be popular, and then asking, would you like to see this? And we essentially create big spreadsheets of what we think could be best to manufacture. There's a lot of things to consider on this. Things like the time span on the railway. You know, is it something that lasted on the railway decades, or was it something that sort of came and went relatively quickly? How many were actually manufactured, and how far up and down the country they got? One of the big ones, is there any still in preservation? That is a really big one. And another one, how iconic they were. And essentially, let's just say, for example, let's take the Black 5 as a really useful one to look at. That's an iconic loco. There's 11 in preservation. It lasted decades on the railways, lots of different liveries. There were 872 built across all the different builds. So taking that as a great example, that's one that we could select from there. Essentially, once we've chosen the product, i.e. the Black 5 in this case, you then start the research. Now, that is, the research and development is one of the most time-consuming parts of it, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole. I haven't come across anything railway-wise that isn't a rabbit hole, really, because it always got changed on the railways, and whatever's in preservation now often has a lot changed from what was running at the time. Essentially, in the research stage, then it's collecting books, original drawings, going to the preserved railways over and over and over again to measure and take pictures, see what's changed, as I say, from preservation from when they were on the real railways, collating original photographs where possible, and eventually we come up with spreadsheets that look really boring like this. This is behind the scenes, so this isn't in any way what I would call neat. We've got lots of different tabs that basically
not screen sharing at the moment, Ellis.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would help, wouldn't it? Hang on a second. Right, can everyone see me? My screen, that is.
I've got a grey screen.
Hang on.
A little tiny.
How about now?
What? Oh, yes.
Spreadsheets. Right, okay.
Spreadsheet.
So this is all the boring spreadsheets I was on about. So this is one of many that we've got, basically. As I say, it's not in any way neat. As you can see, it's got lots of different tabs and sort of titles and rows, and essentially we start with as much information as possible from books and photos, and where we go is we try and narrow it down into what we think is the best models to manufacture from a specific class. So i.e. the Black 5, although 872 were built, we've only actually been able to make about 250 of those we've only actually been able to choose from 250 real life locos to manufacture. Comes down to basically the variations in real life and the change from loco to loco, especially as they went through the years being built and improvements being made. Question I always get asked, preempting it, is, why can't you do, let's say, for example, just a random number 44881 or something like that? Why can't you do that? Essentially, in the manufacturing side of it, it comes down to the tooling cost, and you've always got a minimum quantity of items for any individual running number or loco that you've got to make, and it's often a very, very hard thing to sort of narrow it down to what we think are the best ones to make. And often some people will be disappointed, but we try and come up with what we think are the best or the most iconic or anything like that. So we create these spreadsheets, we narrow it down to a certain amount of locos that we're going to manufacture, and then we begin the CAD stage. This bit gets a bit more exciting. The CAD stage, and my CAD designer Nikki is absolutely superb for this, and I'm going to show you one of the completed CADs of the Black 5, for example. This again can last anywhere from 3 to 9 months, and throughout it Nikki will have numerous obstacles to overcome. Every part has to be manufacturable, and what I mean by that is every part has to come in and out of a tool, and essentially the tools can come in different parts and be pulled apart, and if something is sticking out proud on, let's say, the vertical part of the tool and also the horizontal tool, if you, for example, pulled the tool up like that, it would just snap off part of it on one plane. Likewise, if you pulled it the other way, it'd snap something off on the other. So you got to get creative with your tool making, hence why it comes in so many parts and then is assembled. So on my screen now, this is without tender, of course, the completed Black 5 CAD. And obviously you've seen pictures and things of it, but you probably haven't seen it as in depth as what I can perhaps show you now. It's one I like to show off because Nikki has done quite an astonishing job on it. For example, I can zoom in on a few bits. This is the underside here, showing things like the sandpipes and the brake work.
Ellis, there's a question in from Dr. Dave about what is the colour coding used?
Yeah, sorry, I should have said. Colour coding is for different materials. So, for example, this, it's not it can change as well come manufacture. Sometimes when they get to the manufacturing stage, it actually turns out they can't make a certain part in a certain material because they might not be able to get it out of the mold. But generally speaking, the colours on here are the materials. So pink is die cast. This bluey purpley colour here that the cab is in is plastic ABS. Then you'll have things like steel and copper and brass, which are some of the other smaller colours like yellows and things that you can see. So yeah, they're all the different colours. These bits here, essentially, these are between the variations of black fives. These are parts that can change. So as you can see, we've got a completely different smoke box there. Then you've got your AWS equipment, the piping which runs along the side on just underneath the footplate, and that there is for those who don't know, that locates bear in 1 second, just behind the link coupling, and it was to stop it from bashing back and hitting the AWS equipment located behind the buffer beam. I don't know, actually no one's seen this yet, but this is a snow plow that Nikki added onto the CAD as well. Spin it around. I like showing this bit off actually because not really many people have seen that. Got lubricators there and lubricator pipes. You can see why this takes so long, because again, it's not just a case of designing it, it's making sure that all this is manufacturable. Hence things like the cab and inside here, all these pipes have to either be handmade or hand assembled or come out of tooling, and you can see the sort of detail that we've got on there. So
what's the CAD software, please? Arthur Moore is asking.
Yeah, we use SolidWorks. The software I'm using right now is called eDrawings. It basically, eDrawings is essentially created for people like me. Nikki's boss, who has no idea how to use CAD but wants to have a look at it, at the items she creates and stuff. With this software, all I can do is view, and I can also pull parts apart like that. So you can see right into the inside of the loco. You can see how the chip is, smoke unit and things like that. I can basically pull parts apart. I should have asked Nikki actually how you put them back together. That's one thing I don't know. That would have been good to know right now. Yeah, that's that stage. So the CAD stage, there's a lot of back and forthing, a lot of alterations as you go along and checking of things, especially with the factory as well, going back and forth from the factory. But eventually, once all the CAD is complete and it's checked and everything, then finally it goes to the factory, and they start making all the tools and all the molds that are going to actually produce the loco. That can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months again to do that bit. Once they've made all the tools, they'll make what they call the EP, or the engineering prototype, or the first sample. That's always unpainted, so you can see all the parts and the materials and what they are and what they comprise of. And that's something we'll be showcasing actually excitingly at our show on the 4th of September, the first Black 5 sample, which is leaving China in a couple of days.
Can I ask a couple of questions there?
Yeah, go on, fire away.
The first question is from Douglas. You talked about how everything has to be feasible in terms of being built.
Yeah.
How do you deal with compromises in what is feasible in a model?
Yeah, really, really difficult one. Great question. It's really hard. A lot of the time it's like, what can you lose and what can't you lose, and what has to be there and what can't be there. And then it obviously all comes down to a price as well. What price are you going to charge at? I mean, when I first started going to China, one of the things that I said, can you have this? Can you have that? They said, you can have absolutely anything you want. If you want for a coach example, if you want the taps in the toilet running, we'll do that for you. How much do you want to pay? And a lot of it comes down to that essentially. How much do you want to pay? To be honest with you as well, though, most of it comes down to your CAD designer, and I'm very lucky that Nikki is so fantastic at what she does and has such a great brain for putting something together like this. In terms of compromises, like you say, it's a question throughout the CAD process that is, Nikki will come to me and she says, okay, I've got a problem here. Don't think we can do this unless we do this, this, and this. Which way shall we go? And it's a decision of, is it how important is it? Is it going to detract from the overall look of the model? And again, how can we do about it? A lot of time it can be things like splitting one part into two parts to be able to actually then make that part. If a certain part can't come out of the mold, then you might split it into two. That might also be wondering why is the cab here made out of plastic when a lot of it's made out of metal? Quite simply, in metal we couldn't get the thinness of the plastic and the cab and the detail on certain parts. Essentially, die cast hardens a lot quicker in the mold, and you can't pop the mold off it the same way. With plastic, it stays soft for longer, so you can get away, if you like, with rivets overhanging a little bit more because you can pop it out of the mold. So that, again, another thing to consider. But yeah, like I say, it is a hard one. Often the compromises that you have to sometimes make.
Two more quick ones which fit in nicely here. Chris Ward was asking, does Nikki draw everything in 7mm scale?
She does. Yep, absolutely everything. Yep. We wouldn't even upscale or downscale any parts if we were ever to do anything like that. It's all drawn completely from scratch. Yep, completely.
And then one from John Starling, where you're talking about detail. We're talking about the coaches, iconic oval Thompson lavatory windows. They're cut out. What else is done to achieve the realistic effect? Because obviously in the past, template coaches, they were just printed, which wasn't done very well, whereas yours are so realistic. So how is that achieved?
Yeah, so this is on with my Darstead hat on. For those who don't know, I have a lot to do with the manufacturers Darstead, and more over the years. They used to do coarse scale oak gauge, and then they went into fine scale. Producing coaches predominantly is what they're known for to date. So like you say, they've come from a template background, but they've gone into fine scale and they've massively improved over 4 or 5 years now, since I first started selling the Mark 1 mainlines. And the latest coach that we've got coming very soon actually is these Thompson coaches in fine scale oak gauge. Again, like you say, these now, where we're at now, these have, full detailed interiors with brass luggage racks. They've got mirrors, lamps, full seat interiors, and the windows at the end, and brass sides and everything. So was the question, sorry, about the template and was it that the windows were printed originally?
They were printed originally, but obviously now they are cut out.
Yes, yeah.
Assuming the iconic ovals, Thompson's lavatory windows are cut out. What else is done to achieve the realistic detail?
Right, okay. So I was answering it on the right wavelength. So there's a lot more, so from like a template coach now, there's a lot more separately fitted parts. That's always a big thing, to be honest. Is it a big, in the factory, a huge way of raising the cost? Not only does adding more parts create more tooling costs and more assembly costs, but it also creates more more rejects, if you like. If you imagine building, for example, a Parkside Dundas wagon kit, and you accidentally go wrong, or something gets glued in the wrong place or soldered in the wrong place, essentially you might be able to cover it in paint. If that happens in the factory, it pretty much goes in the bin almost, or scrapped or melted back down. So now on these, we've got separately fitted, don't know if anyone can see, separately fitted hinges. We've got
Listen, you want to stop screen sharing for a moment, and then we can see you as a big image.
Yeah, that would also help, wouldn't it? There we are. That's better. Oh yeah, much better. So this is the latest sample we've got on the Thompson. So we're now at the stage where we've got separately fitted hinges in the doors, and there are brass handrails on the interiors. On the inside, as I said previously, you might not be able to see in there. Oh yeah, you can. We've got the brass luggage racks, lamps and mirrors. So what you end up with is a lot of separately fitted detail parts, which you wouldn't have used to get on the course scale coaches that you mentioned. Things like little separately fitted handles on the battery boxes as well. But yeah, it's come a long way since course scale and tinplate. It has.
And presumably that starts as a CAD drawing as well.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep, that starts as a CAD drawing, and as we've learned, sorry, I've just popped a button open. There's no hiding that, is there? As we've progressed over the years and things, I've got more sort of hands-on and more knowledge in manufacturing and working closer and closer with Darstead, and we've got more exciting news coming up in the near future as well with them. So yeah, that'll be great.
I've got a couple more questions, but they're mainly about manufacturing. So do you want to take those after you've talked about the next stage? It's up to you.
Well, yeah, I'll, to be honest, I prefer answering the questions because, yeah, I love getting questions. So I'll fire through the last few stages, and then, as many questions as possible, but fantastic.
Okay.
Essentially, I think I got after, the first engineering prototype sample, this is the first one we got of the press floors, for example, undecorated, as you can see. So once we've reviewed that and made any changes, again, you can make some alterations to the tooling at this stage. They go back to the factory, they make the alterations, and we send them the artwork sheets, which is all the colors, all the color codes, all the typography and the logos and everything like that. And after about 3 or 4 months, you get your decorated sample, which, as you can see, that's a fully decorated, and that's very, very close to as it will be at manufacturing. The paintwork isn't quite as perfect as it will be come the manufacture, because what they do from here is they make artwork templates and masks and things like that. These are all spray painted as well, not printed, so you get a nice sort of sheeny finish, especially on these, which were obviously steel. So you get a lovely finish there. And once you've made those final decisions on artwork, then you go into manufacturing, which can take anywhere from 2 months to 12 months, really. Depends on the size of the project, and locos take a lot longer, a lot of moving parts to sort out, and materials and components coming from elsewhere and from around the world as well, so they take a lot more. But eventually you get your produced models, and then they're shipped. Now they're shipped now. They used to come on air freight, but that's gone up 3 times now since COVID, so we're having to rely on sea freight at the moment. Obviously, once we get the product in stock, we unbox them, we check them all, make sure it's all got here safe and sound, and then we start ringing around pre-orders first, and then they go out live, and that's when we start selling, basically, and you finally get some money back for your long-term investments. So yeah, fire away with some questions then.
Okay, so Steve R has asked, what percentage of the whole project cost does the tooling comprise?
Yep, can vary on project to project. Generally speaking, the tooling is around sort of 30 to 50% of the actual cost of the project. Again, it can sometimes depend on how many parts are molded and how many, for example, a lot of the parts might just be turned brass, in which case there's no tooling cost, but there is a assembly and manufacturing cost and material component cost of those. But yeah, I would say about 30 to 50% is the tooling cost.
Okay. And do you use the same factory and manufacture every time, or do you shop around for different skills? Chris Ward was asking that one.
Yeah, at the moment, we're using the same factory. I've been out there a few times, and it's yeah, that I've seen the work firsthand that they do, and it's phenomenal, to be honest with you. So once you found a good factory, which is very, very hard, by the way, once you found a good factory, it's good to stick with them and create a really good working relationship with them. Because very few can manufacture to sort of the standards that I suppose myself and most companies will look for, but yeah, there's not many of them.
Okay, Ken's asked a question which I'll come on to, but I'm curious to ask one. You talked about the fact that you make a very long-term investment, basically, because you've got to do all the CAD work and then all of the manufacture and the time it takes getting the prototypes, etc. You see some companies who get people to sign up and sort of pledge that they're going to buy so that you know it's viable. And Ken's basically saying, what's the minimum viable run for a new item? I guess it's what's the security that you know you've made the right choice in terms of what you're going to go and do next.
Yeah, yeah, great question. It's a really difficult one. A lot of it, at some point you've almost got to bite the bullet. I myself aren't making a fan of people pledge to anything before they've seen anything, if you like. So sometimes you've almost got to have the confidence in yourself and your decisions that you've made on a product to go for it and run with it. It is kind of like running any business venture with risks. You've at some point you've just got to get to a point, and you get a gut feeling for it as well. You've got to use your gut a lot with it. If you're researching and doing something and you're thinking, I don't think there's enough in this to actually go ahead with it, then you might drop it. But a lot of the time it's yeah, you've just got to bite the bullet, be confident, and go for it. And yeah, as long as you work hard at it, and like you say, if you follow things, like I've got a lot of rules I follow in terms of, you know, how long it lasted on the railway, different liveries, where it ran, are they in preservation, and things like that. And if you're ticking all those boxes, then you've got a good chance of doing well with it.
So if you've got something in mind, you said about how you might chat to people at exhibitions, get them to do tick box questionnaires. If we took something like the Wickham trolleys, I mean, they were launched at our virtual show and people were buying them there and then and saying, I want one, I want one. I mean, that wouldn't have been something that came to mind as an obvious choice, but it obviously was very, very popular. So how do you get that confidence that I've chosen the right thing?
The Wickham trolley actually was a bit of a unique one. Nikki loves Wickham trolleys, and she'd drawn it up in her spare time, sort of almost before she came to work for me. And just one day she was like, "Oh, have you seen this CAD I drew up?" And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." She's like, "Oh, should we make it?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, that's just ace. It's a great little thing. It's especially with O gauge layouts being quite small and unique, and it's just a fun little item to have on your railway. And there's so much you can do with figures and tools, and things like that. That one was a completely different one, to be honest. It makes people smile when they see the 3D printed one, which we did, because it's just a cute little thing to put on your railway and run around, and it's so versatile. I mean, it did tick all the boxes as well, to be honest, because there's so many in preservation. They made so many of them. They lasted so long, and there's lots of liveries. But yeah, that one was kind of like, it just happened, and it was like, yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple more, and then I'll hand over to Tony so that he can ask a few. The tooling, Paul Stone is asking, does it get kept in case you need to do a rerun, and how long does it take to do another run if required?
Yeah, you always keep it. Definitely always keep it. In terms of a rerun, a lot of it depends on the factory's commitments, what they've got going on, and what they're manufacturing for you, and what space they've got in the calendar. Sometimes you can get a rerun done quite quickly. It just depends how many you're ordering, if they can get the materials quick enough, and if it's a product that can go together quite quickly. Again, it can vary. Like I say, if they've got the materials accessible and the workforce have time in their schedule ready to go, then it might be all right. The biggest problem at the moment is at the moment we're having to add on an extra 2 months to any lead times because of sea freight over air freight. I got a quote the other day for one pallet, which was, I think it was £6,000 to £8,000 for a single pallet by air freight. So when you're bringing 8 pallets over, it can get a little bit scary when it's just like I say, just freight.
Okay, one from Dr. Dave. How long do you expect between a product announcement to the first sale?
I actually, because I got it wrong myself on a couple of dates I'd given, I was over optimistic on things. I actually made a little spreadsheet of called Ellis's realistic project timeline, and essentially it's what you've got to remember is, no matter, I've come to the realization, you've got to plan for the worst, hope for the best, and you're always going to get delays down the line that you never expect to happen. And you can plan everything, and then you might have a part coming from elsewhere in the world, an electrical component that all of a sudden you're like, the factory might be like, oh, it's not turned up, and you might call it, find out from the company that it's not been made, or there's a material shortage like has been in COVID, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we'll have your batch ready in 6 months, and then it's like, oh well, that's not good. So yeah, it's I would say now, once the CAD is complete, I would say it's about 12 to 18 months to get the product to market. Add in the CAD, it's about 18 to 24 months to get a product to market, I would say, realistically. Yeah, that's what I'm working on now anyway.
Okay. One more from me, and then I'll hand over to Tony. So there's been an amount of comment about your coaches being taller than other suppliers.
Yeah.
Obviously Helgem might have the same coach, but they both maintain they're built as 7mm scale. Yep. How do you account for sort of things coming out from different manufacturers with different heights and things?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, to be honest. 2 things here. Firstly, yeah, the Darstead ones are a little bit too high on the Mark 1 main lines. It was something I didn't actually realize until we were selling them, and someone actually sort of pointed it out. Now, essentially what you've got in model railways is a level of how should I put it? Oh, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Compromise. Now, as manufacturers, we're all making sure that stuff runs around second radius curves, and it's a case of, where do you compromise to enable that? Essentially, with Darstead, they on the bogies. I should have had a bogie free actually to show this, but what they basically did was they raised the top of it so that the bogies could clear the sole bars and not foul them. Obviously, it'd derail on second radius, and that in turn raised the whole coach up height. I must admit, I said that can't be done. If it's gonna be a compromise where it has to run around second radius, then the dimensions and the height and overall things like that can't be tampered with. It has to be to scale, and that's something you've got to stick by, to be honest, and should be followed in manufacture. And I totally agree. Everything, no matter what brand it's from, should be within sort of a millimeter in the larger dimensions, you know, width, height, and length of one another. Going forward, it's about coming up with ideas and learning. And Darstead have learned a heck of a lot from the fine scale market in a short space of time. I mean, they did come into it with a bit of a coarse scale head on the shoulders. But if you look at the Thompson coaches, like I say, now where they're at now compared to where they started from, it's leaps and bounds. But again, it's a learning curve for everyone all the time, sort of thing. And I like to try and talk as openly with manufacturers as possible about things like this. So yeah.
That's brilliant, thank you. I'm just going to cut in with one more before I hand over to Tony, because you've just mentioned radius, and Jeffrey emailed me earlier and said it's interesting to know why, and you may not have the answer, but obviously I know you're the sort of person who'd go and find out about it. Why the major ready-to-run manufacturers and Pico have settled on the R2 1028mm radius as a kind of operational standard. Obviously guild standards, it doesn't seem as though there's been coordination. I don't know if you've got any views on that in terms of why the R2 1028mm radius has been kind of selected really as the standard.
Yeah, great question. Honestly, I don't actually know, other than that's become something that we all aim for, I suppose, because Pico have such a monopoly in track. I suppose we've all just kind of followed suit to do it, to make it run around second radius because it's so available. Been completely transparent. A lot of it as well is to do with sales. We have to maximize our sales to make a product viable for a certain price. The less you're going to sell, the higher the price has to be, essentially. That's something I'll go find out. I could speak to Pico, and it could be in a case of, it could be as simple as we need a tighter curve. What should we go for? 3'6" Should we go 3'6"? Yeah, okay, let's go with that. Don't know. That's something I'll go find out that, though. I can't promise I'll find an answer, but I don't know why that was settled upon. But yeah, it's a good question. I'll do some investigating.
That would be really kind, and if you can come back to us, we can let people know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ellis. Tony, over to you.
Right, and well, there's a gentleman called Michael who asked, will you do it in Irish livery? Now, I'm not sure what he means by that, whether he's meaning one of the coaches or Black Fives.
Could it be a Wickham, maybe? Just thinking that they got everywhere.
Michael, who's on the Galaxy Tab A, if you want to unmute, you can ask the question yourself.
Hi, Ellis.
Hello.
Michael here. How are you doing? Yeah, the Wickham trolley, I have one ordered from you. Are you going to do it in the Irish livery, Great Southern?
Yeah.
Or leave it unpainted and I paint it myself?
Yeah, we actually, it's a great question, because if honest, we haven't submitted to the factory all the art sheets yet. So we were looking at a few more bespoke liveries. So either supplying an unpainted one or doing a few shorter runs of like say like an Irish livery. So yeah, I'm just going to write that down if you don't mind. And yeah, I'll look into that, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Ellis.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, moving on from that, there was something that in relation to the coach heights that we were talking about earlier. Chris has mentioned regarding the coach heights, could a spacer be provided to go above the bogey centre to allow operation on tighter radius curves?
That's exactly what they've decided on for future. Yeah, it's like a plastic washer spacer, and you can put 1, 2, 3, 4 in between, and each one's about 0.5 millimeter in thickness. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what's been decided upon.
Okay, Chris, there's your answer. Thank you very much. Also, Justin, some manufacturers seem to go for quite short product runs, such that if you don't pre-order, there won't be any left by the time the product hits the shelves. What are your views on that sort of ethos?
Personally, for me, I like to produce enough so that we'll have enough in stock for a few months after release. I'd like people to buy with confidence from me, and I'm not so naive that obviously we haven't had, we haven't got anything of our own actually out in the shops yet, and I'd like people to be able to see them running, withstand a bit of the test of time and conditions like that before they feel like they have to part with money with us. I mean, the Black 5 for me, I think, is very good value, but at the end of the day, it is £949, and I wouldn't expect someone, or not everyone, to part with the money until they'd seen what it can do. I do know it's going to be fantastic and stuff, but at the same time, like I say, I can't expect people to part with the money until they've seen it running, not being damaged, hauling enough coaches, everything like that. So for me, I'd like to always produce enough so that there's enough in stock for a good amount of months after it's arrived with me. I won't necessarily be complaining if I have a sellout day upon release, but then I'd do a rerun like someone mentioned earlier with the tooling.
In the sort of spare parts like spare wheels and things like that, do you sell those separately?
We don't sell them, but we do give them away free of charge. I always like to carry as many spares as possible. I mean, I'm a pretty clumsy person, so if I knock a buffer off or something like that, I'd like to think I could get a replacement readily. And if I'm honest with you, some of the spare parts, yeah, we might have to charge, but some of them aren't that much to manufacture, so it's not a heartache for us to give them away, like a buffer, for example, or something like that.
Well, Philip Morgan's also asking, wheels, axles, gearboxes, motor assembly methods, thinking of maintenance and for the future, are they replaceable items?
Yep,
can you get them from you, or do you get them from Slaters, or what?
You get them from me. They're replaceable. I think, as many of you know, the Black 5 has an ABC gearbox and Maxon motor. So the reason we went for these is, I don't know if anyone's got any of these in the kit built models, but they are, I mean, superb. The haul is fantastic, and they're so robust, so robust. So yes, everything will be replaceable, accessible, right down to, I'll just show you this quickly. Can everyone see my screen share now?
Yes, we can.
Right down to the pickups, which are, sorry, I've just blocked the top bar with, there we go. Right down to the pickups as well, which I don't think I'm going to be able to get in there. But I don't know, you can see them there. They're little sprung pickups on each wheel as well. They're all replaceable as well. So yeah, for maintenance and longevity, we make it all really easily accessible, and like you say, parts replaceable as well.
Will the speed of your Black 5 match the prototype then?
Yeah, basically as close to it as you can get in model form is what we've gone to.
Thank you. That was a question from Colin of Sheffield. Chris Stafford's asking, For the existing Dasted Mark 1s, could you design and supply a different fitting to go on the bogies to reduce the height to a more scale height?
Yeah, it's one of the many things we're looking at. If honest, it was something we were looking at a long time ago, and then just things got so busy, to be honest, with so many projects and stuff. It is something which we're picking up relatively soon, to be honest, on the Mark ones. Yeah.
Would you then be selling that as a replacement part, or would that be
That's the
only on
plan.
new?
Yeah, that's the plan that we're looking to do on that, as like a replacement part. Yeah.
Okay, I hope that sorts that for you, Chris. Has anybody else got any questions coming in? So,
There's one that I had earlier, Tony, which was about whether you've ever had to abort an idea because it was too complex or too costly.
Yes. Or not necessarily abort, actually, but more shelve for another day. It happens a lot where we'll be looking at a couple of projects at the same time, and one's meant to be happening next and the other quite a way down the line, and you swap them over almost and bring one closer. So not so much completely abort. Usually doesn't really get past the idea / research stage, because you realize very quickly whether it's actually going to be worthwhile doing. Like say for reasons like how many are available, or what else, or if another manufacturer announces them or something like that. So yeah, fortunately we haven't had anything yet which we've got as far as, for example, the Cad stage and then aborted. Yeah, usually it's quite early days when you stop a project.
Thank you.
Dr. Dave's asking, have you thought of Mark 1 bogies with ball racers?
Yes, yeah, we have. Yeah, that's also on the list.
It's on the to-do list, is it?
On the to-do list, yeah. There's something with the with Mark 1 bogies that we're looking at, because on the LNER bogies, on the pre-orders for the ball races, they've been so popular. So yeah, again, that's something we're looking to add in for that.
Well, Chris Ward is saying that you're a very brave man, which I've got to agree with you. He was in the industry tooling, design and manufacturing for 52 years, and dealing with China is not as easy as you might imagine. Your research and funding spreadsheets must give you a few sleepless nights, is that right?
Yeah, do you know what? It used to give me way more sleepless nights than it does now. I've sort of come to the realization that as long as you keep working it through, you'll always get there, and you'll always find a resolve or a way around it. The Chinese are they're fantastic to work with, but what you got to remember is I always put myself in their shoes, or flip the situation around, and I always think, if I were getting an email that was in Chinese writing and that was it, what would I do? Like, and it's like, if I'm sending an email in English, I sometimes have to think, well, how they can speak, they can speak English, but it's not the first language at all. And it's like, okay, so if I'm doing this, are they going to get it just from some text? Or a lot of the time we send them pictures with arrows and just as black and white as possible. And yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, I've been out there a few times and had a few drinks with them and things like that, and they are so humbling. They're fantastic to work with, they really are, and the skill set is quite unreal, to be honest with you. But yeah, it took a lot of learning and finding the best ways to deal with China and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's why we now do all the design work in the UK as well, because Nikki will have any amount of questions on a daily basis, because it's a question of, are we doing this or that? Shall we include this? Shall we not include that? Does this part look good? Does this not? And if you were doing that at the design stage with China, then if you imagine how many emails that would amount to, and how much backing and forthing, and not to mention different time zones as well. So yeah, it's about working it round and coming up with the best way to best set of guidelines, if you like, to work from. Yeah.
Going back to your Black 5, Colin from Sheffield's asking, will it pull 10 Mark 1s up a 1 in 60 incline?
It'll pull, we've done some tests and it pulled 14, no problem. I think that was on a garden railway and I think it had a bit of an incline as well. So yeah, basically, yes, it will. It should have no problem at all, with a low current draw at that as well.
Very good. Before the session started, you were doing some tests to make sure you could do your screen sharing. And one of the things that came up was your Buckeye coupling.
Yeah.
And how is the development of the Buckeye coupling coming on? Ken is asking.
Yeah, so the Buckeye, I'll share my screen again. Can everyone see my screen again?
Yep.
Cool. See this little tiny coupling I've accidentally zoomed out from. There we go. So this is the Buckeye coupling in question. So we're currently at a stage where all the design work is done and we've done all the theoretical tests we can possibly do. Now, one of the things we wanted to do was make up some samples. Because of COVID, we've been struggling to find a manufacturer that could make a sample without doing it from tooling. Now, the tooling on this is going to be quite expensive, and once we've made it, that's it. So essentially, if we make the tooling and it's not strong enough, for example, or we need to make tweaks, then it's either start again and we spend another few months making the tooling, or what have you. Where at the moment it looks like we've done all the tests we can in sort of CAD and what we think is going to work, and we're just going to have to bite the bullet on this one and go to tooling and then do tests with actual production couplings as opposed to making any samples first. We can't see, we think it's going to be fine. We think it's going to have enough strength in it. As soon as we got samples, we're basically going to send them out to loads of people to put on garden railways and inclines, on large rakes of coaches, wagons, locos, and put them through as much stress as possible. This is one which is, again, I was hoping to have ready a bit sooner, but it has taken a lot longer than originally planned. But yeah, we are still working on this, and we will have it out at some point. But yeah, as I say, I think we're just going to have to go to tooling, make some, and test them from there, really. And fingers crossed we got it right. We think we have, but yeah.
I mean, just looking at it, it looks very similar to the KD, but
Yeah.
with a different shaft and support mechanism, obviously, because it's got the hook.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, KD have a great coupling, to be honest. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it at all. We just wanted to come up with either a British industry standard, but would still couple to a KD, and have our own coupling as well, more than anything. The drop part here, that's removable as well, by the way, and obviously as would be a proper working drop head as well. That's the main thing about it, having a drop head coupling. I think Hornby magazine actually put a video out the other day of I think Helgen sent them some coaches with theirs working on, so I'll have to have a look at that, because I've been speaking with manufacturers as well at Dapple and Helgen Minerva about I sent them the CAD as well, if we can all come to sort of the same coupling, if you like, just to make it more universal, and again, another reason for more people to do O-gauge, really.
Actually, that sentence there links in with another question from Steve R. Do you have informal conversations with other manufacturers to ensure you're not duplicating releases?
Yeah, as much as possible. It's I was speaking to Chris about this today. It's sometimes a difficult one, and sometimes it's really easy to speak to them on a really down-to-earth basis. A lot of it is you can tell what certain manufacturers are going to do and what you're not. Obviously, Helgen are well known for the diesels. Dapple are very well known for sort of 060s and private owner wagons and stuff like that. So we're not going to come out with with something so similar to what both of those companies do, hence why we've got, for example, like a Black 5 and a press floor wagon and a wick controller, which is very sort of different. So yeah, we keep talking. It's something I'd like to do more of, but inevitably there's going to be the odd clash here and there, and if you're both so far down the line of something, then you might end up clashing. But I don't know of anything at the moment. There's some I speak to more than others where we really work together and we make sure we don't clash at all. But it's something we can probably all improve on to make sure there's no duplicates again.
Talking about future projects, then, have you got any thoughts about a Midland 3F 060?
It's not on the list, if honest. We've got a lot on the list. That one's not there. Doesn't mean we wouldn't do it, but yeah, that one's not on there.
The Thompson Elizabethan set.
Yep.
When will it be ready for shipping? Do you have any ideas?
Annoyingly, almost all of it is ready at the moment, and this is what I was talking about sometimes unforeseen delays. We've got them now, but the brass sides come from a specialist brass etching manufacturer, and they were dramatically behind on orders and things. So we've been ready to go to manufacture for about 6 months now on the Thompsons, but we've been waiting for the coach sides to be completed for the full production run. They are here now. They are being manufactured. We're expecting all the Elizabethan sets to be with us November, December time. At the moment, that's what we're looking at.
Going back to the gearbox and motor, did you say the ABC Maxim motor? I've lost it again. Right, we are. The ABC Maxim motor and gearbox are going into the Black 5.
They are, yes. Yep, that's what's going in.
Are they manufactured in the UK and sent out to China?
They are.
For them to fit?
Correct. Yep. So they're all assembled here, and then they'll be fit in China.
That's from Richard, who's asking that question. Thank you very much, Richard. What would hold the Buckeye up in the up position?
Yep, it's a little. Hang on. It'll basically be a rod that will slide in and out, essentially. So lift up. Again, that's something Nikki did. We did discuss this the other week, making sure it would sit perfectly in place. I'll have to double check with her now, but basically it's a push fit pin that will simply slide into place and be secure and hold it there. Again, got to withstand. It's got to withstand the test of time and things as well. That.
So how would you get the pin out?
Yeah, that I was just thinking that in my head. I need to ask Nikki that. We did have that conversation, if I'm honest, me and Nikki, and her brain's fantastic at remembering everything like this. But yep, 1 second. There, she's just texted me. She's watching, by the way. That's why. There are lugs on the hook. That's what she's put.
There are lugs on the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good at that. I think that happened with the Wickham trolley, actually, where someone caught me out of a question and Nikki came to the rescue. Yeah.
If she's on the actual Zoom, she's very welcome to unmute if you want her to at any time, Ellis. So I'm not sure. You know, bring people in if you need to. That's fine by us.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you, thank you.
So you say there's lugs on the hook. I'm just looking at the drawing that you're rotating round. Whereabouts are the lugs on the hook?
This is something I'm. Hang on. See, this is usually where I'd call Nikki and say that I've broken the software, because this should be pulling apart here.
We're all laughing at you, you know.
It's fair enough. I'm used to it on a daily basis, to be honest. People don't understand how I run a company, to be honest with you. What I'll do is I'll get Nikki to do an exploded image of it that I can post into the chat or post somewhere afterwards.
That will be brilliant. Thank you very much, Ellis.
Yeah, just remember she's the brains behind the operation.
Are you just a front man?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Apparently, on the real thing, the pin that supports the Buckeye is supported by a chain.
Yeah, I'm just
Held
reading
on by a
that
chain.
now. I'm just reading that. Yeah.
It's all right. I've just lost everything.
Yeah.
If you use lugs, is there a risk that the wear and dropping?
Colin from Sheffield is saying, what about a Class 70 diesel?
They're a funky looking loco. I quite like that idea. I'll be completely transparent. I don't know how many of us as manufacturers are waiting for the Class 66 from Dapol to come out to see. It's going to be a really interesting one to see how that does, because that's probably by far the most modern, mass manufactured, expensive model.
And yet it's a really competitive price, isn't it?
Very competitive. Yeah, really competitive. It'll be when you get it, it's fantastic that they're doing it. And I don't like to say that we're using them as like a test subject here, but it'll be really interesting to see how that one does. I hope it goes really, really well. A Class 70 is a great idea. It's just, obviously in O gauge, it's not as popular at the right up-to-date modern image as it is in double O, for example. Not to say it's not going to get there, and now that I've got Chris working for me and he's drumming my head in daily about modern image O gauge and things like that. We have an ongoing joke here. Neil, who works for me, and me are into, as Chris would call them, kettles, which is a steam loco. And Chris is more obsessed by his diesel stock, although he has got a Black 5 on pre-order, so he can't really say anything, can he? But yeah, so
the gentleman from the Mayog.
Yeah, that's Mayog. Yeah, Chris of Mayog. Yes, yeah.
I was going to ask exactly that, because Chris Warner obviously has been involved with Mayog since it started, and I expect he is sort of plugging the modern image from you.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's not going on unnoticed, is what I'd say.
You saw him there on the video.
Pardon?
You saw him there on the video.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. But he's coming around to steam engines more now. He's realising it's far better.
We're a broad church. We like everything.
Yeah. No, well, it's. Yeah, as I say, as O gauge progresses and stuff, we will naturally move into more modern locos. And as I say, I think the 66 is going to go really well because, like you say, because of the price point, I think it's going to bring a lot of modelers into O gauge. So, I'm more than happy to look at making stuff as well from that era if it's going to bring more people into it and broaden the range of models on the market. I think it's fantastic. I think it'll be really good. I think a heck of a lot of people as well, because of the price point, will buy one for display or just for the collection, to be honest. I think the standard price, if you like, that us as retailers put them out, are under £300, and for an O gauge diesel loco, when it's as detailed as it is, it's quite
phenomenal, isn't it?
It really is. It's that, yeah. I wish I knew how they did it actually. Yeah, no, it's good as that. It is good.
Yeah. So what is your next project, or are you keeping that under your hat at the moment?
Keeping that under my hat. That's we're announcing that the 4th of September at our show.
Oh, absolutely super. I wish I could get there. Unfortunately, I've got an appointment at the Isle of Man at a wedding that day, so I can't make it. But I wish you all the best of luck at your barbecue day.
Oh yes, yeah, with the
I'm
whole
drooling already at the thought of it, but I'm
I
not
know that,
doing it.
honestly, all you have to do is offer people free food. It's easy. I mean, I say that because that's what.
We are cheap,
Yeah,
aren't we?
that's. I think I'd drive halfway across the country if someone offered me free hog roast. So yeah.
You were saying perhaps about expanding your premises. Or moving
Yeah,
to different
I mean,
places.
to be honest, long term we've got big ambitions in terms of expanding. And if anyone's come into the showroom recently, it's quite embarrassing what it's like in terms of stock storage. And we've kind of just ballooned in expansion in quite a short space of time, which is fantastic. But yeah, we've grown out of our premises quite quickly. But we've got some big long-term plans about where we want to move and how we want to do it. And because the showroom we've got here has been so popular, I basically, the showroom, for those who don't know, I set it up because I spent so many years as a kid, and well, now in the NRM. Me and my dad, what we used to do, or what we still do actually, to be honest with you, is we'll go to the NRM and we'll do all the looking about. We'll go to the library and then we'll sit in one of the cafes and just have lunch there. And I just love being surrounded by railway and real railways and stuff, having a coffee, having a bit of lunch and stuff. I just think it's a brilliant place to sit. Absolutely love it. We've spent countless hours there. Hence why I love Railway Anna and things like that. And that's how I sort of set up the showroom, to sort of be surrounded, be a nice relaxing atmosphere, somewhere nice to sit and spend a bit of time. And we're always making coffees, and my mum does homemade cakes as well for the showroom, although Neil and Chris always eat those. I had to ban them from them recently, actually. So because of COVID, we didn't have as many customers in, so there was cake going spare, but now it's gone crazy again. So yeah, I've had to put a Neil and Chris ban on cake. But yeah,
so how many are you expecting for the weekend?
I think at the moment it's looking about 300 to 400 possibly.
Oh my goodness.
I
Where are
mean,
they all going to go?
We'll figure that out on the day. It's fine.
You got marquee or something?
Yeah, it's a big outdoor marquee that we've got. Yeah, huge outdoor marquee. So 300 to 400 is what we're hoping for. I think we're booked on. I think we're nearing 200, but that's just booked on. And I think a lot of people will just show up on the day, and that's fine. Anyone's welcome to. It'll be fantastic. Really, really good.
So, have you got anything else that you want to add?
I suppose, well, the show, obviously, on the show, we've got the first Black 5 sample and a Wickham sample as well. We've got our announcement, and we've had a few pre-owned collections in recently, big ones as well, so they'll be going out for sale at the show. So, that'll be a great day to meet and greet. And
it'd be really great if you could, as soon as you've made your announcement, whiz us some emails so that we can get it onto the Guild website pretty quick.
Hey, you've got to come to the show.
I told you I can't, can I?
No, of course. Yeah, I'll have my
I'll be committed.
I'll have my emails ready in drafts, ready to go out, and newsletters and everything like that all lined up.
Fantastic.
Ready to go at the click of a button. Yeah, I suppose other than that, it's great to work. I love working in this industry, and since Chris has come on board as well, he absolutely loves working here in the showroom. In fact, there is now 10 of us sort of working for Ellis Clark Trains, and it's just an exciting industry, different industry to work in. Everyone's so enthusiastic about the products, about what we do. It's great taking feedback and listening to people and improving, and it's just exciting that this is like early in the stages of our journey and where we're going to go, and knowing what we've got to manufacturing coming up. Really, it's pretty superb.
Just got a question coming from Colin in Sheffield. The I'll get my teeth sorted out eventually. Your Black 5, are you holding the quoted price, or might there have to be an increase?
Nope, we're holding the price on that. So that if there is an increase, then I will. We always honour all the pre-orders, and anyone who pre-ordered it at the advertised price, they'll get it at that. If there is a price increase, I will put a notice out and say, but we will always honour pre-order prices. I can't foresee any price increases on the Black 5 come release, though. To be honest, I think we've got it. I think we got it right there.
Have you thought about the 1920s all steel Pullmans?
Yes. Yep. We've thought about those.
And that's as far as it's gone, is it? Thought about them.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, that was very cagey. Who did facial expression there, I think?
That was a question from Steve, who's obviously interested in the 5-car options and the LNER and Southern Region stuff.
Lol.
Right, well, we'll not ask you any more questions about those Pullmans then. Is that all right?
Yep, no problem. No problem.
Can I just ask if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question? I know sometimes people feel it's better to actually unmute and speak for themselves. If you just want to send a message in chat saying, can I ask a question? And then we can ask you to actually unmute because we'll identify your name. So we've got some good feedback there. What a fab evening. So that's really good.
Oh, thank you. It's been good. I like doing these. It's a great idea.
Well, you'll maybe have to get onto our virtual show in November then again.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Was it last time I had COVID when we did one of those virtual? I think I had to do
it as well.
Yeah.
You were isolating.
Yeah, that was it.
Probably in that same seat.
Yeah.
What about some small shunters then?
Yeah, that's something we're looking at. If honest, Dapple have made it really hard for us because of the price of their 060s and things. No, I jest. They haven't made it hard. Yeah, that's something I'd like to look at. The only thing that would hold me back there is that there's quite a few shunters currently on the market, both steam and diesel. So I must admit, it's not something we're currently looking at doing, but I wouldn't say no in the future to doing something like that.
Well, having 2 or 3 people saying it's been a very interesting evening, brilliant. Is a small shunter under 5'3" inches.
I'm just going to show a couple of slides while we're seeing if anybody else wants to put forward any other questions, because we're approaching 9:30. Let me just see if I can find the right bits. Is that sharing okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Let me just minimize that again.
I've just got an email from Nikki as well, so
Oh yes.
I'll be back in a second. Well, not back in a second. But, hang on.
Why won't it bring up my PowerPoint? Just come back to.
Is it in the sync?
No, here I've got it. There we go.
You got it? Yep, you're there.
Right, can everybody see that?
Yes, it says Ellis Clark.
Okay, we have spoken a lot about Ellis's first summer exhibition, which is being held on Saturday, the 4th of September. If you go on to his website or if you follow him on Facebook, you'll find all the details with listings of the layouts and traders that are going. There is a hog roast, you may have heard, and obviously it's at Unit 1 on Toller Court in Skipton. Ellis, anything you want to add about your exhibition for people?
I think we've mostly covered it all just a bit. I think we've got now 6 traders and 6 layouts as well, so there's a bit of extra interest there, and we've got the Gauge Guild demo stand as well, and vintage bus shuttle. We'll have cold drinks and coffees, everything complimentary there as well, and it'll just be a really nice day. It'll be a really good day. Good to see people.
Excellent. And then our next evening with booking starts at midnight tonight, and it's going to be with Pete Scarborough, who is from Keighley Club, and he's going to be offering you advice on wagon building. And Pete's sorry, that's just gone forward one slide more than it should have done. Pete's had about 40 years of experience building all sorts of different wagons, and he will share his experience with people and do some live demonstrations of wagon building as well. There are a lot of people who've asked for Pete to do something. You won't get a video in advance of his evening. You will get an article to read and a full history of how he got into his wagon building experience. So that's the next evening with on the 26th of September, and it's opening booking from the front page will start from tomorrow, the 27th. Tony's mentioned 6th of November, 9:30 till 5 is our next virtual show. We've obviously got layouts, and Tony, I think you said, how many have you got already?
I've got 9 that's actually ready to go. I've got, sorry, 8 that's actually ready to go. I've got a promise of another 8 where, and including Pete Waterman's own layout, where we've had our team go out and shot some video of his layout, and Peter's been running the trains. So it is, and he's going to have a Zoom session there as well, questions and answers.
Yeah. And several demonstrations, quite a lot of how-to sessions which people have been asking for, and also an opportunity for the special interest groups to share what they've been getting up to. So the technical team and David Smith are keen to hear from anybody else who would like to do any demonstrations. The modelling competition, which would have happened at Guildex, is going ahead via the virtual show, and the announcement for that will be in the next couple of weeks so that you can actually put forward your entries. And obviously there'll be lots of people who will do question and answer sessions like we've been doing with Ellis this evening. Because that's been very popular for people to have a chance to talk to people at length, which they wouldn't normally get a chance to, and do this sort of behind the scenes experience. So it's free to everybody, members and non-members. It runs all day. It'll be the same setup where you literally enter it via the front page of the Guild website. No geographical restrictions. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can come along. And obviously, as usual, everything will be recorded so that if you're not there on the day, you can see the live discussions at any point. And of course, the videos of the layouts and the videoed demonstrations, any other special interest groups that meet will all be there for you to look at in due course. So lots more exciting things coming up this year. And we are planning a full programme of 3 exhibitions as usual next year. Kettering is on the 5th of March. The Doncaster show has had to be moved by 1 week because we're obviously having that on the 11th of June to avoid the Queen's Jubilee celebrations, and then Guildex on the 3rd and 4th of September. And as we speak, the flyers for that are being finalised, so we'll be able to circulate posters and flyers and get that out and about to everybody very soon. So we'll see you again actually on the 26th of September, that should say, so I apologise for that typo. Back to you, Ellis.
A couple of questions have just come in, Ellis.
Yep.
From Chris Stafford, how about TTAs and TEAs? They're wagons.
Yes. Something we've looked at, but I think another company might have the chassis for one of them. So, yeah.
Does that ever cause a problem where you've kind of got your heart set on doing something and then you find out that actually it's already sort of somebody's got, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's I think that's the hardest. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. That's probably the hardest thing about manufacturers talking together. If you've got your heart set on a certain project and you've got all these ideas, these great ideas about how you want it to do, if you're then talking, you're both going for the same thing, it's like, how do you then say to yourself, I'm just going to drop it when you've really got your heart set on it? I think that's probably the biggest thing in the way. And for me, because I love the hobby and the industry and the manufacturing stuff, it's not just a business. So I do sometimes, it's difficult to think with your head always above your heart with certain products as well, or drop a product really quickly like that. The
screenshot that you shared, Ellis, that's the
coupling with the hook made invisible, so you can see the gubbins if you'd like it on the inside. There we go.
That's it. So that's if people want to download or take a copy of that screenshot, or we can put it onto the Guild forum and circulate it to people. Then that's the detail that you were asking for.
So effectively what you do is you pull the whole hook forwards to drop it.
And drop it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, when it's hooked up to the next thing, when it gets pulled forwards in tension, there it stays there.
Stays in place, exactly. So it's obviously got to still couple as simply as a KD coupling, for example.
Is it spring loaded then?
Yes, yeah, it is.
To push it back. I see, yeah. Otherwise it would just drop down.
Yeah, precisely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good invisible drawing. Transparent. That's the word I was thinking of.
Excellent. Okay, there's lots of other compliments coming in, Ellis. Thank you very, very much. It has been a great evening, which is what everybody's saying. It's, just been so interesting and an opportunity to get some insight into everything that goes on behind the scenes with Ready to Run. You think we have enough problem if we're trying to build something from scratch or from a kit, but when you're trying to come up with an idea, test it out, make sure it ticks all of the boxes, and then go through the whole process with Nikki of drawing it all up, checking that it's feasible. It's been so interesting to find out all about that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to spend the evening with us.
Oh, no, pleasure. As I say, I really enjoy doing them. It's really humbling as well to see all the nice comments coming and stuff. It makes it worthwhile doing and stuff. We love customer feedback and people feedback and everything. It makes it worthwhile doing. Some of the nice comments we get when people ring us and say, the extra touch we made on an order, or how we've packaged it, or how we've done it, how we've looked at that. That is genuinely, we love that. We absolutely love that. So things like doing this evening, I absolutely love it. I really enjoy answering questions, and I like hard questions as well. As I say, I like not being able to answer every question, because it only makes me go away and do more research or work harder. So thank you so much.
Or get Nikki to answer
it. Pardon?
Or get Nikki to answer it.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I think one of the things that you've always done is engage very well with your customers, and that is something that gets the feedback. Is it's that personal touch, isn't it? And we appreciate the amount of engagement you do with the Gajo Guild as well. So we're very pleased to have you on board with the evening and other initiatives, being involved, the communications group and everything.
Oh, no, it's as I say, pleasure.
There's a comment from Jan there to everyone about an evening with is a fantastic initiative from the Guild in these special times. Please continue the good work. Just to let everybody know, I did put it in Guild News, but we have been asked to continue these and continue a virtual show every year, because even when we get back to face-to-face events, we know that there are a large number of people who can't travel to our exhibitions, and there are people who, for whatever reason, are housebound, they can't come out, and these evenings and the shows are proving very valuable for them, and it's being perhaps more inclusive that we can have people from overseas participating in much more. So they are going to continue. And if you've got any ideas at all for anything, then do let us know, because we're already planning for 2022. So, you know, and likewise, if you've got Q&A sessions that you want to have at the virtual events, the virtual shows, please let us know. Okay, so thank you very, very much.
If I can just say, if anybody's got any layouts that they would like to appear in any virtual shows, please get in touch with me. We're always on the lookout for layouts, large, small, indoors, outdoors, in the shed, doesn't matter, it's coarse scale, fine scale, scale 7, anything at all, narrow gauge, I forgot narrow gauge, I'll get in bother for that. It doesn't matter what scale or gauge it is, we want it for our show, because somebody somewhere will be interested in it, not just you. So get in touch with us and give me details of your layouts. Take a short video on your phone, let us have it. It'll all go in the show. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. And please come back to the real shows next year. That's going to be important too. We want to see people.
Kettering, 5th of March. Get it in your diary.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you all next month, and hopefully see you again very soon, Ellis, and make sure we get you roped into the virtual show in November.
Likewise.
I hope Saturday goes really well for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for all the good questions as well. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
See you all later. Thanks again for hosting as well, Jackie and Tony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. See you all later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Alice.
Bye. Bye.